All right, here we go.
What's good, everybody? I'm Robert Dickens Jr.
This is Ryan Reed.
This is Elanders Frazier.
This is John Gaal, and you're listening to Volta.
Changing the conversation
For percussion educators,
Designers,
and performers.
Where have we been? What have we done? What's today's topic?
Where have you been, John? What you been up to since season 3 ended in December
When did it end?
December 21? Is that? Yeah.
Is that really? What year?
December
2023?
26th, 2021 was where we finished.
Lots gone on. Wars happened. The economy's crashed.
It did actually. That's wild. Did we ever really get involved though? I feel like we was just on the sidelines like, don't shoot your shot. Don't do it.
What have I done in 2 years? I've built
proud.
up a small program in the downtown Fort Worth area. Thank you very much.
I
Thank
wish you had a
thank
little
you.
emoji I could pop up on the screen for
Yeah, we still need
congratulations.
to get all those sound samples plugged in.
The little keyboard.
Yay! I've gone from 3 percussion kids to 7 percussion kids. Wow.
Hey, that's actually a big increase, right? Like that's what's
Yeah.
that?
That's over
210%,
Yeah, that's right. That's
right? You doubled it plus some.
So next
Wait,
year,
that was really bad math. Definitely over 100%.
what have I done? I don't know. Are we talking life, personal stuff, or just music stuff?
Whatever you want to talk about, bro. Whatever you feel comfortable with sharing. This is your audience, your family.
Tweet, 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 tweet.
What you been up to, Ryan? We'll keep the circle. We'll keep the party rolling. Go ahead.
A lot has changed in the last 2 years, obviously. We've been through 2 WGI seasons. My group went from not existing to making finals both those years and medaling this year, so that's pretty exciting.
Congratulations.
A WGI medalist in the house.
Our top symphonic band played at our state conference.
Nice.
So that was exciting stuff. Our program has taken off, and a lot of that has been attributed to kind of just investing in the kids more, like we talked a little bit about in really every season that we've had so far, about making just investment in people and seeing the program go from there. Most recently, this was made official 2 days ago. My position just shifted to full-time. So I'm not a full-time teacher, but a full-time like paraprofessional, which means should have health benefits, knock on wood, for the first time in a handful of years.
I'm looking around for wood, and I have a wood desk.
Yeah. So lots of things. Lots of really good things. I'm writing for way more programs than I've ever written for before. So
nice.
Lots of good things in the last couple of years.
Hitting on all cylinders. The proverbial cylinders that we hit when we're moving in the right direction. That's awesome, man.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Well, I'll tell y'all how I've been. 2 years. 2021. Let's see. 2022. I went through a lot of changes at my job. I'm now in my second detail of a different position in the last 6 months. I'm learning a lot. Like I feel like I'm going through boot camp for finance. This is what's happening because I just keep getting stuff thrown at me. With the schools, we finished 22 in 4th place. We were this close from getting a medal, and it hurts, man. Fourth is probably the worst. I almost wish it would have just been 5-3, right? 'Cause fourth cuts you a little deep, right? You waiting for that 4th. As soon as you're like, oh, all right, that's okay, baby, that's okay. We still made it in. So fourth and 22. We ended up 11th this past year. Young group. We've already restarted for this year again at pace. Another young group, but we are finally starting to get back to our pre-pandemic numbers. So I think the pandemic, like we were bringing in like 2 to 3 kids. This year we have a little. I think I was about to say a little over 9, 10. So I think 10 kids, and then we got like a kid moving in from Smith Station, Alabama. So in the I don't really know where Smith Station is, but I know people that have gone there.
Outside of Phoenix City.
Okay, I
Maybe
know where
like
Phoenix.
15, 20, yeah.
The Phoenix without an O.
Facts.
Oh yeah, so it's I think it's gonna be a good year. Just young and learning. Family's good. My daughter's growing up. You know, she was 6. Now she's 8, going on 13. She'll be 9 this year. So, that's probably why there's a lot more gray in this thing. But it's been good. It's been a good little hiatus. Chomping at the bit to get back to this, because this is that much needed therapy, if you will, for all things percussive.
I think it's the thing we've all. I think it's the thing we've all kind of missed.
Facts. Absolutely.
What about Rob?
Yeah.
Man, wait, you jumped off 2021. Okay, I'm trying to track back. 2022 indoor season. Took my group to Dayton for the first time.
Nice.
They got promoted to open class and made semifinals. So that was super cool. The first time that they've ever done that in their school's history. So lots of firsts in that regard. And a lot of the visual design stuff that I've been doing with them been like well received within their program. So last year I got promoted to being the program coordinator for the marching band. And
Nice.
this year I'm also serving as a visual designer. So getting in there with Pieware is what I've been kind of figuring out the past 2 or 3 months of just
The most
so many
complicated
odd-
program in pageantry arts.
bro. Not an understatement. Not an understatement. Just so many steps, so many things. But it's just like, okay, all right, it's the rite of passage. It is what it is. It's been around that long. You got to figure out how to do it. So, but I've been enjoying the process of it. I think like visual design is definitely something that I've enjoyed more than I thought that I would. Because I don't know that I really planned on getting into percussion education and then also just like diving more into that side of it, but and working with the winds and all that kind of stuff. So, but it's been really cool. It's been a really cool couple years. I was very excited to get for Southwind to jump back up from last year as well. To get that going again. I thought that was a really cool experience, especially to see everyone, because I haven't seen everyone since the pandemic and all that. In 2021, we didn't do anything. I'm super excited about this year. I think it's going to be really cool and just, getting a chance to see what's happening. So that's about it, man.
I
want to jump back on for me.
Go
It
ahead,
doesn't sound
John.
like I did anything. As y'all know, I have a terrible memory, being so old and such. So I write down stuff. So I've actually, since 2021, I created an Excel sheet, and it's called Yearly Review. And so I write down all the main things that happened in my life. You guys sound so accomplished and everything. So I just want to say some things to make me sound accomplished too, because I'm doing stuff too, everyone. I know it doesn't sound like I do a lot. But I just want to share what I did in 2022. So it makes me sound intelligent too. I saw the Dune movie. I thought it was awesome.
Dune was good.
movies.
Second part comes out
Okay.
this year, I think.
November 3rd or November 5th. I wrote it down. I'm looking forward to it. So Dune, if anyone haven't seen it, go check it out. Top Gun Maverick. Clearly music
That
is
was
the highest
awesome.
priority in my life.
I saw that in IMAX. It was wild.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, man.
RRR. Have you heard of that? It's a Hindi movie. It's not Bollywood. It's kind of Bollywood, but it's go check it out. RRR. Awesome. Music, amazing. Choreography,
Awesome.
Ay. On Netflix, the Arcane show. Y'all seen Arcane?
I feel like I've heard of it, but I haven't seen a thumbnail or anything like that, but it sounds familiar.
Beautiful animation and then artistry and then the choreography. It was, you guys are missing out. You do too much band and music. Y'all need to, branch out
Oh,
a
I
little
watch
bit.
a whole lot of stuff, man. It sounds like all your accomplishments are you sitting down watching TV.
Andor season 1. And
I
then
watched like 3
Avatar.
episodes of Andor. I don't know, like it's not as enthralling as like The Mandalorian. But I'll reserve my judgment till I finish it.
Okay. That's all the movies I'd recommend. That was my life, basically. Also, I did other stuff. I don't think anyone really cares. I bought a house. I got some cancer removed.
Word.
What else happened? My sister got engaged. That's all. That has nothing to do with me.
And married, right?
Yeah, she's married now. That's right. She's married.
Congrats
What
to
else
John's
happened?
sister.
Yeah, it's all her. And then there's some band, Perk Ensemble, Southland Colts made finals, which was awesome.
Colts did. And first time
Rocking
since
last year.
07?
2007.
Yeah.
Yep.
An accomplishment.
That's about it. I need to get back into writing. Haven't written anything. Terrible composer. Ryan's been writing a lot. He's awesome. So if you haven't checked out Ryan Reads, Ryan, you want to shoot at your little website? How can people contact you if they want to get some of the awesome front book?
Yeah, my
Plug
website is rreedmusic.com. I do a blog on there too, so kind of just put random thoughts up there. So
We'll make sure we get the strip on the videotape
yeah,
so everybody can see it. rreedmusic.com.
yep.
Awesome. Now, I will say, in the last year and a half, I've probably written a lot. Just I just been writing just anything that I can write to. I've been getting random music books from friends and just writing to it. Shows that I ain't even writing for. I'm just like, just send it to me. I'll blank out everything, and I call it my sandbox. And all I'm doing is just sandboxing material. And it's I think it's a little bit cathartic. Just it puts me at ease, but it keeps my wheels turning. And then, of course, just like Instagram drumming with my quick breaks and stuff like that, and just trying to push myself to be more. I was about to say more inclusive, just because of stuff we talk about at work all the time, but more creative, definitely. Just trying to get more creative, but
I think that's really cool. I think that also brings up like a really good point in general is especially when we're talking about being creative, like as professionals, like how many times do we give ourselves projects that don't necessarily have a deadline, that we're just kind of like working on something? And I think it probably doesn't happen enough, obviously, because we have to make room for it because we got so many other things that are like stacked up. But I definitely feel like it's really refreshing creatively to work on something that doesn't have any expectations on it. You know what I mean? Like you can just, I mean, it's like teaching a brand new group. Like when you're teaching a brand new group, like there's no expectations of like how competitive they should be, how fast they should go, what their vocabulary should be. Like that's a refreshing experience. And I think that's definitely important for educators to like have something where you can just be creative and be free.
Yeah, and it doesn't always necessarily have to be in the same idiomatic expression as what you do for a living, right? Like I've done that in years, just pilling around in Logic with different sounds and rhythms and stuff like that, and creating beats. And I've done it in Envision with just uploading music and moving 6 foot tall models around the car. They always crack me up with these. The step size is never right in those programs, man. But
That's
like,
why you should get Pieware.
I know. I, I've, I got Envision as a last ditch effort because I had 2 shows that I had to write for, and the last show I had written was by hand because most of the shows I was writing like in person, just go in and write it. And when I got both of those contracts, I was like, I probably need to put this down in a video. And Envision just seemed like the Sibelius, like watching everything like, oh, it'll be easy to learn and everything. And it did not take me that long to learn, but I will say though, it took me that long to learn. Like what I needed to learn to finish those shows is not the knowledge that I have now, and I should have taken my time a little bit longer. But eventually, I've got enough people whispering in my ear about the pluses of Pieware, but I'm still giving Envision a chance. People are still writing with Envision. They're still updating and everything. So new tools coming about stuff. So
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
Sorry,
No,
go ahead, Rob.
Ryan.
Oh, I was just saying that's how I learned Logic. Like I was doing some like pre-show sound design stuff all in Audacity, and it was like coming up fine. And then I was like, okay, I probably need to learn how to do this. And then I got into Logic. I was like every day watching a YouTube video and figuring something out. And then I was like, oh man, why didn't I do this earlier? So
sandboxing.
Yeah. Maybe that's something that's important. I don't know. I definitely feel like it's been, even though it's been a little frustrating trying to learn Pieware just kind of on my own, because I watch quite a few like videos and stuff like that and just be like, okay, I kind of get what they're doing, but I kind of don't get what they're doing. And then it like just takes me like, I want to tell you one of the simplest things, like it took me a while to just figure out, okay, like how do I do what I do within the program? You know what I mean? Like I
Your
think
workflow.
yeah, like how do you work that out? Because I mean, like for Logic, for instance, like some people might start with, software instruments. Some people might start with loops. Some people start with, samples and other stuff that they want to cut up or whatever. Like finding your own way through that, I feel like is probably like the most taxing part of it. I feel like now after like a month or so and rewriting and finally getting down to like a minute of drill that I really like, I feel a lot better about Pieware. But like starting off, absolutely terrible.
Was you just looking at the screen waiting for something to happen?
Just like something is going to happen. Or the other part is like having stuff in your head, but you don't know how the program does that. And it's almost like that's been a weakness of mine, just teaching and doing indoor, because when you have like, 15 to 20 kids on the floor, you can tell them what to do and make the motion happen yourself. When you got so many other kids, like, you don't have that luxury.
That's that is one thing that I fear probably about dipping into marching band drill is just the exponential increase of the number of performers to manipulate. I think it's still, the design principles are probably still very similar, right? But the number of performers to manipulate to make sure that you're seeing what you're seeing, I think it intimidates me a bit. I think I'll get there. It's not going to be this year or next year. I've actually thought it was going to be this year. Like January 1st, I was like, you know what? I'm going to write some band drill this year. And slowly over the course of these last 5 months, I was like, I'm not going to write any band drill this year. I want to do it the right way, right? Like I'm not trying to deliver a product that's like a test product for a group that's trying to go out and, do good stuff in. I'm going to have to sandbox it. You know what I mean? I'm going to have to sandbox it to get kind of some of that stuff out of the way before I jump in it. But
that's one thing that I've wanted to get into for a couple of years now and just messing around with is full band arranging. To where you can control everything and not have to work. Like I'm super fortunate to work in and out of a bunch of arrangers that like are cool with you changing stuff and like changing pacing, but to like start to finish and see everything you lay out the way you think it's supposed to lay out and whatnot, that's something I'm really intrigued in, just like getting into that full band arranging after doing the indoor thing.
Yeah, man, do it.
Yeah,
Nice.
Contact the 1A band and be like, I'll just kidding.
Hey man, it's hella people out there. I'll say this. I feel like you can find somebody that's on that level that
Mhm.
you know. I feel like there are, no shade to some bands, but one, I feel like if you're doing enough work and you're like putting the time in, like you're gonna write something that's like at least decent.
Mhm.
But there are a lot of bands that like just the level of creativity and design that you could bring with your first year of doing that would be miles ahead of what they've ever done. Even though it might not be up to the level that you're like, oh, okay, like I know I can do this level. I know I can do like, WGI medalist level. I know I can do something that's like BOA finalist level, whatever. Like I have the potential to do that. Like there are still groups out there that would take like something that's like, hey, this show actually makes sense and there's some cool moments in it. Because they've been getting like BS for however long.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's only one winner at BOA or WGI or what. Like, there's only one winner. There's only 12 finalists at BOA. There's only 15 at WGI in classes and whatnot, and that's not everybody's goal. So, like, by no means do I feel like I'm going to go out and write for whoever trying to push it and make finals or even squeak into semifinals. But yeah, my goal would just be find a couple groups that are like, hey, we need a show that makes sense, and we need it, kind of quickish, because the music theory side of things, just like moving dots around the field, it's all the same. Like 1-4-5 chord progression is the same on marimba as it is on trumpet and mellophone and saxophone and all of that stuff. So yeah, it's just finding the program that's like willing to, I don't know if take a risk or take a chance is the right word, but take a flyer on somebody that's not established, or a group that's like trying to get out of the J.W. Pepper box arrangements.
Jay Bocock. No shade to Jay Bocock. I will say, growing up, that was the name. It was an arrangement by Jay Bocock. They send us the little recording we have to listen to.
You mean Jay Bo Cook?
Yeah, Bo Cook. Yeah, there it is. And Michael McIntosh.
The man. And Michael McIntosh. Facts. Yeah, I think that's really important to point out, because I feel like there's a lot of people that have potential to do different things, but like don't start in the areas where you actually have an opportunity. And honestly, I think there's a lot more band directors that like they are. One of the things that I've started to see is like, or the 1 year that I was, maybe that was that 2021? That might have been 2021 when I was an assistant band director. I don't think that was the Volta year, but I did a full year of being an assistant band director. And the one thing that I figured out is that there is no way that a full-time band director has the amount of time that a designer has to worry about the marching band show and how things are put together. Like there's no way they have that time to like run all of the design team and all those aspects and just supervise that. So to me, I feel like even if someone's not comfortable with the entire thing, I feel like if you're really good at putting things together that are cohesive, I feel like program coordinating is something that a lot of band directors probably would be open to. Maybe if they already have their own arrangers, but they don't have anyone to come up with good concepts. They don't have anyone to drive the GE. They don't have anyone to keep everyone like on task, making sure that things get produced in the correct amount of time. Like that takes a big stress off of band directors, because running the program day to day is super hard and tiring.
Yeah. I think we've had this discussion quite a few times about the need for stronger, or the need for dedicated program coordinators and how they can be very beneficial in any program, right? Whether that's an indoor group, a marching band, indoor
Yeah, but
winds.
the issue is money. Like
Mhm.
I get that,
how
but
much is a program coordinator going to cost roughly?
I
I think
guess
it depends on. I think it depends on the program and what they're being asked to program. You
Let's
know what I
go
mean?
for a
Like,
four. Let's go for a 4A school.
for a 4A school,
So let's say we're
so
looking.
competitive.
What is that? The competitive 4A was that 100 people, 120.
yeah,
Okay. I feel like they should be making close to what your arrangers are making, especially if they're in house and they're there. I mean, they don't necessarily have to be there, but I mean, if they're there, there's still a lot that they can get accomplished, in terms of pulling those pieces together. You know what I mean? I think where sometimes the line gets blurred is between the person that is responsible for creating the timeline and making sure that like all the checkpoints of the season get hit versus somebody who's actually putting pen to paper with the design concepts, the design language, the color palette, the scheme, like, drum corps, they call it artistic director, right? So I think you can have both of those roles together, or you can have them separated, right? The program coordinator does not necessarily need to be artistically designed, right? It could be somebody who's just mad organized and is not afraid to talk to people, right? Because that's the biggest thing, right? Is a program coordinator has to be a great communicator because they have to be able to push and pull that information to all the people that it needs to get pushed to, right? And maybe ideally if you have a 4A competitive program, is what you say, and they're doing what they need to do, I don't think that that's a far cry stretch to get paid a grand or two to program coordinate if you are as good as you say you are, right? Like you can't be that program coordinator that shows up and now we missing uniform deadlines or we missing music arrangement deadlines and stuff like that, right? Like then you're kind of, it's like, well, I could have paid myself to miss stuff, right? I'm paying you not to miss, right? I'm paying you because you're supposed to be a perfect shot. And not to say that everything's going to be perfect, but I think if that's the only thing that you're responsible for, then you should be able to systematically accomplish those things. And that communication's got to be super strong for
yeah.
sure.
And I mean, I feel like that price can go up or down based on the complexity of the show and how
How many moving
competitive.
pieces? Yeah.
Correct. Because I mean, I think one of the things that's really important, especially for any band director that might be watching or listening, is I found with people, some people are very good at like structural things, and some people are good at, like you said, putting pen to paper and saying, okay, let's do this, that, and whatever. You need a great big ideas person. You need a great person that's really good at big ideas. You might need someone that's very good at the pacing aspect of that. And all of us that are great arrangers or great at creating whatever, like we may or may not be good at that. You know what I mean? Sometimes that's kind of a flip of the coin. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you do find some people that are really good at like, hey, I feel like these should be the colors. This is how we're going to tie that in with the sound design and this and that or whatever. Like some people are really good at that, but I feel like a good program coordinator that is setting a clear direction, I feel like it just increases the creativity of everyone that's on the team because they have a direction to go into and they're like, here's 20 things that I can do with all this stuff that you're saying because I see what the effects are.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's one of the things that like a program coordinator can help is like they can be like the artistic scaffolding for the show.
Coined.
You know what I'm saying?
New term coined. Artistic scaffolding. Rob out here creating new catchphrases for people. Like, look, somebody go be in a band program this year after listening to be like, if I wasn't here, the artistic scaffolding wouldn't be quite where it needs to be.
Hey, tell them to make sure I get my royalties though.
Right. Trademarks. Robert Dickens Jr.
I think sometimes that's one of the hard things for directors, band directors, percussion directors, whoever, to give up is that you can view the program coordination and the artistic coordination as two separate things. Because there's a lot of times that when you're talking about with people bringing on, I've experienced bringing on a program coordinator, they don't want to give up everything. It's like, well, you're still, as a band director, you're still coordinating the program. Like, you're still coordinating what are the kids working on, what are this, what are that. Like, bringing on a program coordinator doesn't mean you just like give over the keys to the kingdom and you just sit there and do paperwork. And I think sometimes that those words make people nervous of like, well, am I just giving up my program? And it's like, if it makes you feel better, call them an artistic director or whatever. Because
call him a show coordinator if it's just
right.
You know what I mean?
And that's what I've told a lot of people is like, especially because there's on the flip side, there's some band directors that are like, bring on a program coordinator and they want to be told everything. It's like, well, that's also not what a lot of people that do program coordination view themselves as. They view themselves really as a show coordinator, but they don't want to call it a show coordinator. They want to call it a program because a program's more fancy than a show is.
Of course.
but at the end of the day, like those are two separate roles we're really talking about, because we're using program coordinator as somebody who coordinates all the artistic elements, not who coordinates the educational aspect of the program or the production and those kinds of things. So just something to think about as we're going over these things.
I almost kind of think of it like, how TV, they'll say like, your executive producer typically is your showrunner, right? Like they're the person that's making like all the final calls. Then you have a director, and the director is just, they're taking the information from the showrunner and putting their vision into whatever is going to be spit out. You have all your actors, that's your talent, right? Those are the students, whatever it may be. And then you have a group of producers, right? And these producers are just coming in along the way to say, hey, check this out. No, that was a bad call there. Maybe move in this direction, etc. You still have that showrunner that's got the final call, and that director still has the vision, right? So I feel like we could probably learn a lot from the television movie industry in terms of just how we move, and how things move inside of pageantry arts and just in general. But I also think too, like, in order for us to kind of move into that space or around that space, the egos kind of have to come down a little bit, right? Like I say we have to humble ourselves. It's like, I think when you reach a certain level of success, you should have pride in your work, but you had to do something to get there. And that's something that you shouldn't forget, because just as sure as you were on the rise, eventually you will be on the decline while someone else is on the rise. And that's just the nature of life, the nature of work, and things you should consider. But I feel like, we could probably get into a nicer, complementary situation most times when everybody's ego is in check, right? Because if you've got one person that's egoing out, it makes it difficult for that situation to work.
Well, it's just realizing too that not everybody has strengths and everybody has weaknesses. And going back to the movie and the TV, analogy, like those are teams. That's not a program coordinator bringing all their ideas and telling everybody do this. It's everybody bringing teams. And a lot of times in those cases, that director has the final say, or the showrunner or whoever it is has the final say, but they're also facilitating all of those things, and I think that is a good program coordinator, a good band director, a good whatever you want to call them, will create a team that feels empowered to speak up and share their ideas and use the good ones and critique the less good ones so that everyone learns and all this stuff. But they elevate the team and they elevate the program and not just elevate themselves.
Right.
I was gonna say, just adding on to what you said, I feel like pliability or just being flexible as a person that's in any type of leadership role is super important, because all the time the best idea is not going to come from you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, but I think it's smart enough to, I think it's important to be smart enough to say it's not whose idea, you know what I mean? But like, what's the best idea? And if the best idea comes from somebody that's like, hey, I just do the color guard, and we were talking about doing a show about this, and I think this could be a great GE moment, and maybe we can drive the story with that. It doesn't necessarily matter if you're the person that came up with that idea. Like, if hopefully if you're the person that's like driving the bus creatively, artistically, or whatever, like you're smart enough to say, okay, I'm going to get out of the way and just like go with that, because that is the strongest idea that's here. And I feel like everybody, depending on where we are in a leadership role, can be susceptible to that. Like you said, with the ego of being like, well, I'm the program coordinator, artistic director, I should, I guess, have credit for that. So I don't want to go that direction, even though that's really good and that's very clear idea. I want to go this direction. I feel like people do that all the time. Band directors, percussion directors and indoor. You know what I mean? Like, maybe your arranger has a really good idea of how you can use the music and what that might tie into visually. They might not be a visual person, but it still might be a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's something that's really important to watch out for, is like not getting caught up on whose idea it is. Like, what is the best idea for everybody to be successful collectively?
I like that. Collective success, not individual success, right? So we're all
Mm-hmm.
talking about a team aspect. It's very different when you're doing everything for yourself, by yourself, and ultimately it all only falls on you. But in that team kind of code aspect, I really feel like there's more to gain by collective success, because I think you gain more experience points there.
No,
Be real
I can
honest.
attest to that. I agree. Sorry, can't talk. I haven't talked in a while. But I mean, teaching a small group where you're kind of the lead role and everything from a design to application execution type thing. Uh, like for my school specifically, we buy, just because of the size we're in and the finance situation, we just buy pre-made shows. It's a lot easier than me writing all the music and all the drill. And like it was either you, E, or it was you, Rob, who mentioned that band directors just don't have all day to come up with that design aspect and teach their kids and make sure that people aren't, having sex or doing drugs in the bathroom or all the other admin stuff that happens in band. Unfortunately, it's hard to sit down and have a quiet time to actually creatively think about, okay, how do I want the marching band show to be next year if you have all those other aspects that are going on. So I found buying shows very favorably. It helps at least my small band, because that takes a huge portion of just thought I don't have to worry about. Good, I got all the music. So now I just need to find a drill director. I could write the drill, right? But then again, that our brain power, we only have so much CPU. I think we mentioned this in a couple other seasons. Our CPU, how much is it going to get filled with other stuff, right? And so if I'm focusing on now, I got to write the drill, something's going to fall in the crack. So why not
Mm-hmm.
just pass it off to someone else who's maybe more creative, who's been doing it longer? And sure, they would charge me some money, uh, but that allows me other opportunities to focus on my strengths, I guess you could say. Pass off your weaknesses to someone else. You'll still learn. I mean, hopefully, maybe that drill designer, if they're nearby, they can come in and kind of see what's going on, give you some pointers. Or if they're not, maybe you do a Zoom call or hire text, etc., etc. But my point is, uh, at least at the small band level, if you have the money, and even buying prepaid shows. I think for us, we paid $1,600. Last year, there was a box six show. It was a space show, and it was three movements, and we got to choose the level of difficulty for our wins. So depending on the numbers, right? We didn't get to fill out all the chord with all the beautiful colors because we just didn't have those numbers. So we did a easier wind book, and I could adjust the percussion book however I needed. And that gave me an opportunity to, kind of teach the color guard some basic stuff just so we'd have something on the field. This year, or we're trying something different with a different company. I think we're going synced up designs with Shane's group, and I can vouch for both groups so far. I'm not biased one towards the other. Just giving some ideas to anyone who's listening out there. If you got a small band and you're tired of writing everything, those are two great companies I would recommend, and they have a wide variety of levels for whatnot. But with Shane, I've grown up with him with Mystique, and it's really cool because they gave us a package deal that they're also going to do our drill. And just for a little extra more money, they're going to do all the choreography too. Like I said, I can do all that, but is my time being spent at the best that it can be, having to deal with all those other variables, or like you mentioned, just hire a company or artistic director or program coordinator. In this case, I'm hiring the synced up company to do all the heavy lifting, and I'm kind of making it feasible for my group. So we got the music from them. Since they're writing the drill, I just thought, why not write the choreography so they're thinking about ahead of time how it would look well. And then they're going to coordinate with our color guard instructor and make sure that whatever the basics that he or she's teaching, it will match. And so that puts a lot of stress off of my life. I just have to focus on, okay, fundraising. How are we going to pay for all this? Okay, I get to focus on that because I'm really good with finance and finding opportunities in my community to help raise money and for the kids. That's a great strength for me. Teaching the kids, I can do that really well. And then staying organized, making sure we're meeting our deadlines of, okay, school's out here, then we need to have music to the kids earlier so they can at least have all the music as they go home. All right, we need some drills so I can check, make sure. I need to contact the kids, make sure we have the right numbers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So for anyone who's listening, I think a prepackaged show is a great idea. But I'm also not at that level where all these other fantastic guys are talking about being able to hire, a program coordinator, and you're the band director and you have your color guard director, et cetera. Like those bigger groups. I mean, I was talking to Mackenzie. He taught visual at Southland last year. And we were just talking the other day about budgets for bands, and that goes into the thousands, like more than just a thousand, like tens of thousands of dollars, especially in Texas. So that's where I'm located. We spend tens of thousands of dollars on music and drill and uniforms, and just it's crazy how much just like a pair of color guard gloves costs, and then silks for flags, what type of flags, and then okay, you're going to get sticks, so don't forget everything else that you need stick bags, you need stick tape, you need extra sticks because kids are going to break them, like all the minute details. You could spend thousands of dollars on bands, especially if you want to be at that high-end competitive level. So I don't know what I'm trying to say, but Ryan, I know you have something you want to say, so I'm gonna shut up.
Well, no, you bring up a really good point that in addition to time, it's mental energy that you save yourself by doing that kind of stuff. And I've done, I write and arrange as part of my living, but I've done the box show. At my previous school, I was not writing and arranging for my own indoor group because I know myself, and I'll get obsessive over those design components. Or I would have at that age, where it's like, I got to worry about this. And then I'd stop listening or not teach the kids. And for me, it was better to go a different route and have somebody else write for me, because we had the money to have them write. But it made more sense for me to put my mental energy into making the kids play really, really well and representing themselves, and the organizational things like the fundraising. Because without the fundraising, without those aspects of things, like, it doesn't matter if you break your last pair of sticks. It doesn't matter how great the design is, because the kid's playing on broken sticks. If you don't have the money to like get the uniforms, those things don't matter. If your kids can't play, it doesn't matter. So I think you bring up a really good point, and we've been talking about it as time, but I think it's mental energy for people to really focus, because thinking about design during rehearsal is taking time away from your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And also on the flip side of that, if you're thinking about the kids, you're taking away from the design time, which at the end of the day, the kids got to play well.
Yeah. I think
You
what's
know, and I
also
think that's
really, really cool though is when you bring in someone to do whatever you need them to do, whether that's writing the drill or just the music or whatever. Like, no matter what age of life you are, hopefully we've talked about this many times before. Hopefully you still have that, you know, education mindset in the sense of you're always interested in learning, right? That hunger to get better. We've talked about like Logic already and Sibelius and Elanders drill that no one uses, but he's trying anyway. I mean, when you pass the reins off to someone else, it's very scary. Like Ryan mentioned, you're losing that control. But if you go at it as a mindset of I have an opportunity to learn, so that if I ever do want to pursue this full time, even still teaching as a band director, but I want to do it myself, when you're going to be able to make those mistakes or ask those questions, and hopefully you have a good relationship with whoever you're bringing or whatever company you're using. I know with Shane, that one of the questions I asked in the interview when I was trying to determine if we should use this company, I was like, how do you go about, collaborating with band directors? Because again, I'm coming from a mindset of I'm having to do everything myself, and I don't mind giving the reins off to Shane because he's amazing at what he does. His company is great, but maybe I have a couple thoughts on. I've heard the music. Maybe I'm envisioning something else. How do you deal with that? He was very supportive and said that he's very flexible and he can either do everything or he is open to collaboration or whatnot. I think whatever role you decide, if you do choose to go with someone else, you have an opportunity to learn from them. And hopefully you also have an opportunity to collaborate with them. And they can teach you if, oh, that's a great idea. But as you're thinking about this, maybe you want to pursue a different route because of A, B, C, and D from a music, visual standpoint, general effect, etc. Or that's a great idea. We've used that before in these other schools. Here's how we can apply that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I think just understanding the mental energy, I feel like that's my takeaway from this conversation. Like understanding the mental energy that it takes to teach the kids at the highest level that you can teach is very, very, very underrated. All of these groups that, we, especially independent groups that like people think of as just like these great groups, you know, the people that are the designers that get the credit for the group are not usually the directors of those groups. You know what I mean? Like the last time I heard Post called out, it wasn't John Mapes and Ian Grom as the director. You know what I mean? When I heard Broken City, I didn't hear Mike Jackson called out as the director or Roger Carter. Like there is a aspect of like running all of that that takes just as much mental energy as the design aspect. And I think that we have to be respectful of our own limitations and then also just kind of get in where we fit in. Because I feel like those two things sometimes kind of oppose each other. I feel like because we all are creative on here, but we're all, we all have the mind of like what's going to be clean and like teaching and being educators. I think it's difficult to try to wear both hats at the same time if you have to. Because if you're thinking about what's going to be clean and what's going to be effective all the time, you're never going to write anything that's actually creative and interesting. And if you're just thinking about things that are creative and interesting, you might be thinking of something that is not necessarily going to be the best educationally for kids either. So I think that that's a difficult thing to try to do in general. But I feel like whenever it's possible to delegate one side or the other, I feel like for me, like I feel like this season at Southwind, like starting to write some stuff, I feel like having Eve review stuff that I've written has made me write a lot clearer. You know what I mean? Like, I'm able to be creative and just kind of find my way, and then have someone with a cold set of eyes be like, okay, well, this is good. I see what you're trying to do. I think this might be a little bit more effective. You know what I mean? And then vice versa. You know what I mean? Like, okay, well, you know, from a technical side, like, yeah, I can see like this is what's being written. Like, this is a way that you can approach teaching that. So I feel like that's important. If you can separate those two, I feel like it heightens both. You know what I mean? Like the technical aspect and like the creative side of it too.
It's also that word. So I'm gonna jump in real quick, Lane.
Go ahead.
Shut up. It's that word synergy that we've talked about multiple times, right? The sum of all the parts is greater. I think something like that. And correct me if I'm wrong. I'm reading The 4-Hour Work Week right now. That book, and it's all about efficiency. It's all about trying to find as much time as possible to do what you want to do, and whatever you don't want to do, pass it off to other people. I mean, to be successful, it's okay to delegate other things to other people, because that opens up so many more opportunities for you as an individual, as a musician, to go be expressive, to go be creative, to be impactful, or whatever you choose to do. So that synergy of having your team collectively working together, overall, it helps the whole organization grow because it's just more efficient. That's it. All right, I'm shutting up. All you Landers. Just kidding. I want to say something else. No, I'm just saying.
Well, I think what it makes me really think about is, it makes me think about how good parents operate a house, right? Like, you know, like good parents operate a house. Not one person is doing solely everything. Like, they have figured out what their dynamic is that allows them to not only parent, but to make sure that every single thing is taken care of in order for them to live life, right? And that takes time, right? It takes that, you have to go through the relationship building process. You have to go through figuring out who has a stronger skill set here versus who has a stronger skill set here. And then it takes practice in that as well, right? And I think sometimes people will start out in good teams, but they don't stay a team long enough to get that practice in, to know like where the strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and stuff lie. But I also too, it's like they don't give themselves the opportunity to build that trust over a long period of time. Like, we've been a creative and educative team for a hot minute, right? So like, us being able to collaborate comes easier because we've built the kind of, John said, the synergy, the trust, the eyesight, right? Like that ability for us to kind of move things between each other without that fear of we're not all looking at it with the best intention, right? Because you have to learn that with people as you go. And if you can find a team that is pretty solid, it's so important to make sure that and me and Rob joke about this all the time, nothing is off the table. Nothing can be off the table. Because if, kind of to Rob's point earlier, is that if one person's idea is left out, that could have been the best idea for that moment. It very well could have been the best idea for that moment. And you have to give yourself the opportunity to find that space by truly getting everything out on the table in front of you and saying, okay, let's look at all the pieces together. The flip side to that is as important as getting everything on the table is, once you got all the pieces, somebody has to make the call. Because I've also seen it go that way, to where it's like, we're so collaborative that nobody makes a decision, right? Like, nobody's deciding anything. It's like, okay, well,
yeah, I hate that.
I guess we're going left because no one's made the decision. So it's like, just as important as it is to get everybody's ideas out, that still has to funnel, and someone has to make the call. And I will say, in the last 2 years, I feel like I have been in teams to where I'm just like, yo, look, I don't care what it is, just somebody make the decision. And if y'all aren't going to make it, then I'll just say it. Then we'll just move this way. And it's never coming from a place of it. It comes from a place of mild annoyance, but it's not a place of annoyance with the people more so than the process. Because you can work around people that you absolutely adore, but the process has hiccups and gaps. And it's like, anytime I start feeling those hiccups and gaps, I'm like, yo, we are wasting time right now. And we're doing ourselves a disservice. We're doing the students a disservice. So we've got to make decisions, preferably beforehand, so that by the time we're in the gig, we're not worried about the decisions that we have to make. Those decisions have been made, finalized, period, put at the end of the sentence. We're now just reading the book, right? We're going down line by line and reading exactly what we need to read. And we're not now in the moment trying to figure out, well, what creatively should we be doing in this moment? And it's like, we shouldn't be talking about this right now. We really should be on to the next one, right? So, it's not easy. That's how I put a summary on the concept of teamwork. I feel like this, besides our introductions, we've kind of done a full circle of how teams work. It's not easy. And anyone that tells you that it's easy has not been a part of a team that has truly found what they do and how they do it, right? Because all those things are important. I love our conversations. I'm just gonna say that.
It's good to be back.
Artistic scaffolding, right?
Hey man, I love my metaphors.
They're great. They're great. Oh man. So season 4. We got a good season ahead of us. A lot of good topics to continue to talk about. To kind of put some stats in here for everybody. We're up to about 501 cities across the world, 37 countries, territories. Bravo. And then we are at total downloads of all time. Ooh, where is it at? Oh, go back. A little over 1,700.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. People listening. I feel that.
And the coolest part is this thing just started in the pandemic as like a way for the four of us to just like brain dump ideas on each other. And we're like, you know what? Maybe we should record this and people want to be crazy enough to listen to us ramble.
Yeah. It's such a beautiful thing. Well, welcome back, everybody. All right. Welcome back.
Bye.
So, as always, we'll kind of put a little tag on here. If you're watching this, you found us on YouTube. We're also on every podcast service. You can find us on Instagram. Drop us a comment. Let us know how you're doing. Send us an email if there's something that you want to hear our take on, or you want us to talk about besides the topics that we are deriving. Please shoot it over to us. We'd love to hear from anybody that listens to the podcast, because if you're listening, you find some there's something that connects with you, and we want to have that ability to connect with our audience for sure. So feel free to reach out. You can reach us at voltapercussion@gmail.com. We're also on social media outlets in Instagram, and then also on YouTube at Volta Percussion. So my name's Elanders Frazier. We've got Mr. Robert Dickens Jr. Wave, Rob. Ryan Reed and Mr. John Gaal. We are the Volta crew, and we will hear ya, see ya on the next one. Oh, he's the funny one. Peace.
Scene.
Bye.